How many of you have driven down the road and a fire engine has come up behind you? You know where that fire engine came from? Well, it did start out with the modern fire engine. It had to come from somewhere. So today we're going to talk about fire engines and where the different kinds come from, what they started out as in the olden days back in the 1700s, and what they improved to. I am in the fire protection program, so with that I have an interest in fire engines and fire history. Fire engines didn't always come out the way they are now. They were horse-drawn, firemen pulled them, and it was a lot of work. In 1743, the first American fire engine was made, and it was first made and designed by an American. The fire engine transformed throughout the ages from horse-drawn to steam-powered to the diesel-powered we have now. First, we will talk about the fire engine that was pulled by the firemen and eventually pulled by horses. The first fire engine, according to the fire truck history, was firemen drawn. These had downfalls because the firemen had to pull them to the scene. Scenes could be miles away, and by the time they got there, they were already tired and they couldn't do anything. They had to take a break, couldn't put the fire out right away. 1700s was the first time that they really enacted the firemen pulling them. This was a downfall because they had to go get the water, put it into the pump it by hand to get the water to the fire, which was a downfall because by the time they got there they were tired, so then to pump the water they were even more tired. Eventually horse-drawn fire engines were put into action, and these were better but also worse. Firemen had to pull the horses or show the horses where to go, but the horses did all the work to get to the fire, so the firemen had a lot more effort, but they still had to go get the water to put the fire out. The good thing about fires in the 1700s was by the time they got there, most fires were already put out by themselves, so they didn't have to do a whole lot of work, but some did continue to burn. Benefits of the horse-drawn fire engine was the fire engine itself was pulled by the horses, so the firemen didn't have to do a lot. It also had room for the firemen to stand on the back, so they didn't have to run alongside. It saved a lot of effort. If you look at this picture, the engineer would sit up top and direct the horses where to go. Along the sides were running boards, and in back was a step for the person running the pump. This was a benefit to have more people on here because it got more people to the scene and it got more people ready to go. This is a picture of a modern day one that was rebuilt and refurbished, but this is what it would look like in the 1700s. Next, we will talk about steam-powered engines. Even though horse-drawn engines was an improvement from the firemen pulling them, steam-powered did help a lot. Steam-powered engines, according to fire engines timeline, 1841 was the first steam-powered fire engine ever built. This was an improvement because it saved a lot of manpower effort to pump the water. The steam did it, but it also was a downfall because the person in the back, like that picture, had to put wood in the fire on that engine itself to get the steam going in order to work the machine. These were very dangerous because of the fire itself being on there and all the effort that had to be put into it, but it was also improvement from what they had. And then companies were starting to get into fire engines. Truck companies that were building trucks back then were starting to build fire engines because they were more popular, more people needed them. Trucks and LaFray was a brand that made all three. They made the hand-powered ones pulled by the firemen, and then when they got out of date, they built the horse-drawn ones, and then once those were out of date, they built the steam-powered ones. So they really improved along the ways. Frederick Seagrave was another one that built fire engines. Fire engines now, that company is still building. They were also ones that built all three to kind of keep with the ages. And then Aaron's Foxfire is another one. And then lastly, we will talk about the modern day engine, the improvements there was and is, and then the powerful and how the engine is powered. The modern day fire engine has many benefits. It can carry more personnel. Back then, you only had room for maybe 4 or 5, if you were lucky with the running boards on the back. And now you got 4 people sitting in an engine, or you can get 6, and it saves a lot more manpower. It carries a lot more equipment, has a lot more space to put stuff, has a lot more tools you can carry on there. Manpower, with the 6 and 4 person personnel, you can save a lot of effort. And EMS now, you're running medical calls, so now you can put medical equipment on there. It's not just fires, so you have room for all your equipment. It carries more water. An average fire engine carries about 750 gallons of water, give or take. That's enough to put out a small room content fire. That would be enough water to put the fire out in here. And then trucks now are built just to carry water. They're called tenders. They can carry out anywhere from 2,500 to 3,500 gallons of water to the scene if there's no hydrant in the area. Technology now is allowing for better equipment and better safety. Trucks now are being equipped with light towers that could go up 35 feet and illuminate the scene at night, and they have portable lighting that can be taken off the truck and moved to the scene so that you can see inside houses and inside dark areas. Pump function is a lot better since the water's already on the truck. It doesn't have to go very far. Once the pump gets going, it can go right to the fireman on the hose. It doesn't take a lot of effort. We're pumping about 1,000 gallons a minute, give or take, depending on what kind of truck or what pump function you have. Throughout the years, fire engines adapted to the technology being made. They also improved the safety of the firemen and firewomen in the fire and operating. Firefighting has become safe and more efficient with it, and now let's review what we covered. We covered from fireman-drawn engines to horse-powered engines and the improvements that were made between those two, and then we covered steam-powered engines and the improvements and the downfalls of the steam-powered engine. And then we covered the modern-day engines, the improvements that came from steam-powered to the modern-day engine. The fire engine transformed from horse-drawn to steam-powered to the modern-day engine we have today, which saves a lot of time, effort, and safety. The different trucks and roles we covered, and they all have the same purpose to save lives, but in the end, they all came from somewhere and they all started out somewhere.